What's wrong?
You tell me.
Well, we had a little tiff.
Must have been more than little because they felt it.
What do you mean they felt it?
Whatever happened severed the power of three.
Leo, that's impossible.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another week of The Wiccaning. I think that we have been making really good progress in this. And this will be the last episode of the set that was chosen when we were still coming up with the idea. I'm so excited. Like, this has been so fun being able to go back through this show and being able to relive the magic with you in a different way, just to have a new take on it. I especially think that it's been good after we've been doing the rewatch over on the patreon.com/power of G, just in case you want to join, because I feel like I've been able to go into these episodes with that fresh set of eyes. And the last time that we watched them, I would notice this or notice that and be like, oh, I didn't remember this. So today we are going to be discussing Power Outage. And baby, I forget every single time that I don't watch this episode and then I go back and watch it. I forget how good it is. So Power Outage is a season 3 episode where we see the sisters kind of bickering with each other. Cole is trying to figure out like how he can go ahead and kill Phoebe. And then those two things collide. When he sees them going back and forth, he gets a revelation that he can use Andress, a demon/spirit of anger, to infect them with anger. And he is going to use their sisterhood to implode them. Listen, I may not be the biggest Cole fan, but that is, to me, an amazing plan. I really do think it is. I think and it should have. Listen, am I saying that I wanted my girls gone? No, but I am saying that should have worked. But anyway, let's go ahead and get into our discussion. So this episode, I will admit, is just a little stress inducing. Not in like the way that you can't watch it or anything like that. Just in the way that there is so much going on, but it's all useful to the plot. And it will make your nerves bad, especially because I have been going back and I have been learning to appreciate Phoebe way more. And I've also been learning to try to appreciate Piper's journey a little bit more. And listen, let me tell you something. This episode specifically, if I was Piper, baby, I'm sorry, y'all would have to get blown up. Y'all would have to get blown up. But it's not anything that's specific to this episode. And that's what's so funny about it. When you watch it, my chief complaint with the way that they treat Piper is something that they do throughout the entire show, even when Paige is there. So let's go ahead and have our discussion. The episode starts. Let's just start here, okay? And then we can kind of go through it. But the episode starts with Cole and Phoebe in bed. And he is just trying to keep his secret still, and Phoebe is wanting to know what the secret is. She wants him to open up because she knows that he is hiding something and he can't keep running from it. And then he turns into Belthazor. Now, listen, I have a reason that I call him Belthazor. But anyway, he turns into Belthazor, and then he goes ahead and he attacks Phoebe with his athame. And then Cole wakes up in a sweat and he realizes that it was just a dream. So there's a triad member that gave him this dream to remind him of his inner nature. The reason that I really wanted to talk about this scene specifically is because, number one, the fact that the triad is so powerful that they can give you dreams, so they can literally enter your dreams, is crazy. And then number two, the fact that they've been watching him enough to know that he is in a relationship with Phoebe is, again, very crazy, because you would think that by now they would have just killed him and then moved on. That's what you would think. That they would just be like, okay, let's go ahead, start over, and we'll find somebody else. But no, they give him another chance. And I'm just like, okay. But one of the things that I really want to talk about with the triad is this weird voice they do. Because the one that comes to Cole talks like this. You ready to rich? Like, he has the strangest voice.
Reminding you of your inner nature, Belthazor. One that would be in your best interest to reconnect with. So.
And then you have the other triad members that we meet later, and they have strange voices. So I don't know if this is like a thing that they were told to do to sound like otherworldly or whatever, but they sound very odd. It was a little distracting, if I'm being 100% honest. It was to the point where it took me out of the scene because I was just focusing on their voice and being like, are they doing that on purpose? Or is that how they actually sound? And I pray to God that's not how they actually sounded, because if it is, mama, we may want to go to some voice training, classes or something like that and get it on out of the way, because Now, as we move on, we see the Charmed Ones in the club, right? They're in P3 and they are talking about an earthquake drill, which is actually them getting ready to fight Belthazor. Now, what's so funny about this, okay, is that all of this could have been avoided. And I'm not trying to put it off on my girl. I promise you I'm not. That's not the reason I'm bringing this up. But Prue wants them to do it at 3 o'clock. And that is very inconvenient for Piper and it's inconvenient for Phoebe. So it's literally throwing everybody off. But Prue has made up in her mind that it's going to be at 3 o'clock. And that's the, I guess, only time. And I will say, like I said, I'm not putting it on my girl. But a lot of things could have been avoided if she had just, maybe been a little bit more flexible with the time. Prue said, baby, listen, we're doing this when I'm available. And it's like, it is that kind of stuff that when you watch, Prue can be overbearing. Absolutely. 100% can be overbearing. And I get, unfortunately, why people may not necessarily like the character, because she does do stuff like that. But at the same time, I think that in universe, it makes perfect sense. Like, and here's the other part of that, right? Piper and Phoebe are not taking the Triad or Belthazor seriously. Neither one of them. Like, when Prue is bringing up to them, have you forgotten about Belthazor? Phoebe is like, as if you would let me forget. Like, it's like you would forget to get milk or something at the store. It's like, no, there is a demonic entity after you that is like renowned throughout the magical community for his ability to kill witches. I think you maybe need to take this threat a little bit more seriously. And you kind of see that at different parts of the episode where they genuinely are brushing Prue off and just being like, oh, girl, please. But you kind of see that as a thread in season 3 of like Prue being hyper aware of things and then Piper and Phoebe kind of like brushing it off and acting like Prue is just crazy. So it's not like it's out of sorts in this episode. I think it just it adds fuel to the fire that's already kind of burning for them. And you add that in with Prue's pigheadedness and it's just, my God. We also see that Prue has booked P3 for her photo shoot, which upsets Piper. But Piper is just kind of, she just takes it and then she's like, okay, whatever. Phoebe is sitting there like a puppy dog waiting for Cole. Let me tell you something. The way that my girl was sitting there waiting for that man to enter the building, I'm sorry. And then when she saw him, she like jumped up and was like, Cole, I'm going to just say this. She sounded like a little girl and she looked like a little girl waiting for her daddy to come back through the door. That's all I'm saying. And I think that what's so significant about that is that that's Phoebe's character. Phoebe is essentially a little girl waiting for her daddy to come home. Let's just be honest about it. And I think that that's why it's really disturbing to watch the way that Cole takes advantage of her, because he knows that that's her weakness. He knows that that's the thing. And later on, we're going to hear something from Phoebe that just, it honestly shattered my heart, but we'll get there. Now, another little tidbit that was funny about that scene is Prue says if they can get a little bit of Belthazor flesh, that maybe it might help them with the vanquishing potion. And I was like, doesn't it say in the Book of Shadows that y'all need the flesh? Like, what do you mean it might help? Yeah, it's gonna help. That anyway, I just had to point that out because I couldn't remember if that was part of the spell or the potion. I couldn't remember. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Let's talk about Cole for a second, right? Cole comes in and he's mumbling to himself about, having to kill Phoebe, whatever. And it's supposed to be like this little comedic moment. Like, we have to stop seeing each other. Why? Because I have to kill you. That's why. That's not funny to me. It's they wanted it to be like cutesy and, but it was very disturbing. And then when he goes and he sees the three of them bickering, he figures out that that's his way in because they are sisters. They're women first. And he knows that he can use that to his advantage. And after he realizes this, he tells Phoebe that he has to go. And then he kisses her. And I think that's the biggest problem. I genuinely think that that is part of the biggest problem is the way that he's framed and the way that he acts. So like you have this moment where he's like comedically telling himself like, oh yeah, we can't be together anymore because I have to kill you. That's odd. And then you throw in the fact that he kisses her after he comes up with a plan to kill her. Baby, that's disturbing. That's disturbing. And people will genuinely be like, oh, this is the love of Phoebe's life. Oh, okay. Now, here's the thing that they do in this episode that kind of ticks me off a little bit that I wish they had done from his, like, the very moment that he came on screen, but they didn't. They have him in this episode be so conflicted about killing Phoebe and then being in love with her. Now, here's my problem with that. I think that from the very jump, he should not have wanted to kill them. Like, if you're going to sell me this fantasy that he was just raised evil and this is not who he really is and blah, 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 I think that from the very get-go, we should have seen him struggle with the idea of killing yet another set of witches, right? And then as he gets to know Phoebe and he realizes that she is a human, a person, then he starts to, not even really want to be a part of this. But they don't do that. They just they have him like enjoying it. And then all of a sudden it's like, no, he doesn't want to do it anymore. Now, here's another part of the problem with that. This is episode 7. This is literally episode 7 of season 3. That is how fast his relationship with Phoebe has moved. Now, and I'm talking about on screen. So if there's been time that's passed, like, off screen, whatever else, that's one thing, but they don't ever show us that. So it's not like we know them to have been together for like 6 months, right? We know them to have been together for the length of time that this show has been going on, that this season has been going on rather. So that means like 2 months. They've been together for like 2 months and already we're talking about being in love and all this and that. Do you see what I'm saying? It's like they didn't even have time to really introduce him feeling like he was so conflicted about killing her. That's why it just seems like it popped up one episode, because this is only episode 7. And I think that we kind of forget that sometimes when we're watching this show. And I wish that Belthazor had been the season-long villain instead of coming in trying to give him this weird redemption arc that they do before even the midpoint of the season. I really, really wish that they had just eased into it and let us see them develop these feelings naturally, and then let us see him start to really struggle with it. But you know what? Hey, I'm not a writer on this show. I was too young to be. And if I was, baby, you better believe that we would have much more of a slow burn than we got. So anyway, we move on to the manor, and the sisters are sitting there talking, and Phoebe is really, again, trying to figure out what her and Cole are, and how do you think that he feels about me? And Piper's trying to reassure her because of what Prue felt as an empath. And I get where Phoebe is coming from. She's genuinely concerned because now she's had sex with this man, and you're telling me I can't even get a good call back from you. You come to the club to see me and then you run off. No, sir, we're not playing that kind of game. So I get why Phoebe is anxious, but then at the same time, what you really see is Phoebe wanting this relationship to work, and it goes back to her being a little girl waiting on her daddy in multiple ways, apparently. But anyway, an image of Belthazor, I'm just going to say an image of, busts through the doors and attacks them. And it's just a mess. It's like Phoebe levitates up and kicks him, and then Prue astral projects on the table and kicks him again and flips him, and then Piper grabs a knife and like slashes him like this. And I'm like, this is... Girl, I thank God that it was just Leo in disguise, that it was just Leo using his glamour and power to pretend to be Belthazor, because sweet merciful Jesus, it was very, very sloppy. It was all over the place. I'm not gonna lie, like, and I hate saying that because like, how much better could it have been? It just seems so chaotic. And it was like they did the one run through, And Prue is giving her feedback on what everyone needs to do. And then she's like, should we do it again? And they just say no. They do one run through. And I'm like, so you're telling me that y'all messed up everybody's day to do one run through? Y'all literally could have done that at like midnight. Y'all could have just done that when everybody got home. Everybody was good. There was no reason to have done that at 3:00. That's where the episode kind of like falls apart for me just a little bit. Just a little bit. It's so unrealistic to schedule something in the middle of everybody having something to do, including Prue herself. Prue herself even needed to get to her shoot. Like, I can't actually figure out what the point of that was, but I digress and we move. Now, of course, Phoebe and Prue are talking about how they can't possibly do X, Y, and Z and pick up the food. So they look at Piper. Now, I want to point something out. Leo is standing next to Piper when they convince her to get the food, right? And he's like smirking for whatever reason. He's smirking. And I can't figure out why for the life of me, but he is. That's going to come back into play later on, and I want you to put a pin in that. So when Phoebe gets out of class, Cole comes up to her in the parking lot as she's getting in her car, or in Prue's car, which is, again, concerning. I would be concerned, but Phoebe's not, because she loves this man down. This is somebody that she is wanting to be in a relationship with. So to her, it's not creepy. Cole then invites her on a date, right? And he wants to go essentially right then, but she can't do that because she's supposed to get back to the house to do the homeowners meeting, right? And so he's like, no, it's okay. We can just do it another time, blah, 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 blah. He's appealing to that part of Phoebe that really wants to make the relationship work. So Phoebe agrees to go ahead and just pass it off on Piper. And Phoebe says, oh, Piper was going to be furious, but she'll just suppress it and take it out on me later on. Girl, I made notes about this scene. Number one, Phoebe should have understood as a reasonable thinking adult how inconsiderate this is of Cole, because he was in the club. He saw that there was so much stuff going on that day. He knew that there was a lot of things that they were trying to get done that day, and he still chose it. So even though we know that he's trying to get this spirit of anger, which we're going to double back to, he's trying to set them up for this spirit of anger. At the same time, as a human being, right? If I was just Phoebe in that moment, my thing would be, you knew I had a lot going on. You knew that. And you also knew that I wanted to talk to you. So why would you choose right now? But not our precious Phoebe. Not our precious Phoebe. Not our girl. Phoebe, here's the other thing I want to talk about with Phoebe. And her saying that Piper will just suppress it and then take it out on her later. That is something that they do throughout the show. That's not a specific issue to Phoebe, even though Phoebe is being selfish in this moment and really with the whole situation. This is not something specific to Phoebe. Prue is doing it too. And it's not like it's something that's isolated to this episode. They do a lot of that. There's a lot of Piper can you, Piper will you, Piper. And it's just, I think it goes to show that they know so well that she's going to do it. And the fact that Phoebe jokes about, oh, she's just going to suppress it and take it out on me later. I mean, that speaks for itself. That's how Piper has been treated. And I think that this episode really does help in Piper eventually becoming the character that we know her to be. Like, being forced to say no and being forced to put herself first, I think is something that was very, very necessary for her. Because again, this is still the beginning of season 3. Still the beginning. We've watched Piper kind of go through this journey the past 2 seasons of learning herself, learning what she wants, being vocal about her needs, things like that. And at the beginning of season 3, she loses Leo and then she gets him back like the next episode. So does that really count as losing him? But we watch her go through things that are making her be more vocal about what she wants. But then also she's kind of treading on thin ice with the whole Leo and the elder situation. So I think that that's why we start to see Piper move into this new era, because now that this episode specifically forces her to be honest about her feelings, because if she's not, it could literally break up the power of three. So I think this is when we enter our Piper is not suppressing things era. Although we do still have an issue in later seasons with Piper suppressing things, but we move. That's not what we're here to talk about today. But I also think that makes Piper seem almost insane. Like, it almost seems sometimes like they do the same thing to Prue and to Piper. They really do the same thing to each other, if we're being honest. Like, there's not one of them that they don't like make seem crazy at some point. They make it seem like you're overreacting, or they make it seem like, okay, this is not a real threat. This is not a real issue. This is not like, this is just something that they do with each other. And I think the reason it sticks out most with Piper is because she's the most willing to just say yes and go along with it. But anyway, as Phoebe is leaving the parking lot, Cole uses his powers, which again, I guess we got telekinesis, girl. I don't know. But he uses his powers to move the gas thingy so that the gas will, run out of the car. And I was like, you know what? We low-key stand. This man is evil. Like, this man thinks. He is a thinker. He is going to put this plan together to kill them. So going back to his plan, though, he contacts this spirit of rage and anger named Andress, and he talks to him about destroying a set of sisters. And Andress is kind of offended, like, baby, I've taken down nations, turned kings against each other. Like, what are you talking about? And then he says the charmed ones, and Andress is like, oh, baby, you said these were sisters. You didn't say that these were the charmed ones. You didn't tell me that. And Belthazor, I'm calling the man Belthazor because that's who he's acting as, is Belthazor. But Cole really tells him his plan, and he tells him how he plans to like squirm in there and take those little things and turn them into big things. And that's how he's going to get in to kill the charmed ones. Again, amazing plan. I think that was an amazing plan, and I really wish that it had worked. Like, this should have been, if we're being 100, okay, let me say this. And I know that the people that stand Phoebe and Cole are not going to like this, but like, low key, the plan should have worked, and then Andress be the one to kill Prue. Or whoever he was going to kill. Like, that should have been... This should have been like the season towards the end of the season, or even the season finale. This could have been like the setup to the season finale, and then Andress kills him, but everyone thinks that it's Belthazor, including Phoebe. I'm just saying, maybe I'll put that in a rewrite. Who knows? Maybe I'll put that in a rewrite, and we can go from there. Now, do you remember earlier when I said that Leo was there when Prue and Phoebe got Piper to get the food and stuff, right? Y'all remember I said that Leo was there. Piper, for whatever reason, is in the kitchen, and she's like tripping all over herself, and she's tripping all over Prue's equipment, and she's trying to make food, right? She's trying to make these hors d'oeuvres and whatever else. And Leo says, why can't you just make something, simple like chips and dip? And Piper goes, I was a chef. I can't just make chips and dip. And Leo asks, how did you even get roped into this in the first place? Now, you may be asking yourself, how now, Brown Cow, did you even think to bring this up? What, in the grand scheme of things, what is this accomplishing? For me, it's indicative of the biggest issue that Charmed has, is that they have no continuity. They don't remember their own things that have happened. Even now, we can see that they didn't remember from one scene to another that Leo was standing there. And to me, it was just so relevant to bring up because this show has such an issue with continuity. It has and they do things to like make a moment happen. And I really think that the whole, how'd you even get roped into this anyway, was just so they could set up Piper being upset and Piper being mad. When in reality, you could have literally just had him say, next time you need to stand up to your sisters. And that could have been it. And then that could have set Piper off and just let her, in her mind, say, they really have screwed me over and I'm not going to let them do this again. And we can see the rage from there. They just do little stuff like that just makes me angry, especially because when Leo was standing there when it happened, he was laughing. He was literally smiling and laughing. And I don't get it. I just don't get it. It makes me angry. And it's just something that I wanted to bring up. And again, why is Piper trying to make all this fancy food? Girl, if you don't just put some Doritos in a bowl, please, for the love of God. So Phoebe comes back in the house and she tries to sneak in. The neighbors are in there arguing during this homeowners meeting, right? They are in there just going after each other. And Piper tries to stop Phoebe to get her to come on. But Phoebe is like, oh, no. And then Piper freezes the room, right? So Phoebe talks Piper into doing this because she wants her relationship with Cole to work and she needs to talk to him. So she ropes Piper into it. Leo comes in the room and he's holding a bottle of sparkling water. And then as Piper is saying, I need help with this, all of a sudden the elders call, right? And Leo orbs up, but he has the bottle of sparkling water in his hand. And then when he orbs out, it just falls down and Piper has to catch it. I hate that man so bad. When I tell you that I hate that man with a passion because of stuff like that. He is so inconsiderate and he does not think about anybody other than himself. And I know that this is not a Leo bashing episode, but I hate that man so bad. Like, I want to fight him every single time he's on screen. Because why are you just dropping the ball? Okay. Anyway, in the words of Leia, we move. So at this point, Cole comes to pick up Phoebe, right? And he's outside in the car with Andress, and he's telling Andress, this is what you're going to do. You're going to get this one. I'm going to get Phoebe, and then you get the other two, and then everything will be fine and will be great. But he clearly is not happy about it. His face is torn up. And Andress basically tells him to like fix your face because he's like, you're about to score one of the biggest victories and you don't seem very happy about it. And Cole just tells him to do his job. I said, I know that's right. Cole said, whatever I'm feeling is above your pay grade. Okay, so you need to focus on that. You need to get out of my business and you need to focus on what you're here for. Now, again, I wish that we had started with the you don't seem happy about it a little bit sooner. I wish that he had an accomplice that he was working with. And that person was kind of pointing out, like, you don't seem very invested in this anymore, or something to that effect. It should have been something that would lead us to understand Cole is not happy about having to kill Phoebe, specifically Phoebe. Because I think if it was just Prue and Piper, I really don't think he would care. I genuinely don't. I think the only reason that he doesn't go after Prue and Piper is specifically because it would hurt Phoebe. And if he thought that she wasn't going to get hurt, he would, I think, kill them in an instant. But anyway, that's just me talking out loud. So, baby, the neighbors are in there having them just a all-out brawl, right? And that's when Andress finds his entryway and he hits Piper with the anger ball thing. Baby, Piper started reading them people, hollering at them, screaming at them. She threw that platter of food at them. I said, I know that's right. Baby, Piper let out every single piece of frustration that she was holding in. And they were all just so offended. Like, oh, like, how could you? Why would you? But one of the neighbors says something that's so telling as she walks out. She says, I will speak to your sister about your behavior. Now, the thing about that, and I'm so serious when I say this, that woman possibly, okay, this is not a fact, this is not something I know, that woman possibly has, like, because she was kind of older, so I feel like she knew them and had probably been around them, if not their entire lives, a good majority of their lives. And I genuinely feel like Grams had everyone under the having the knowledge that Prue was the one who ran her sisters. Like, if you can't get me, go to Prue. She's gonna be able to get them under control. I hate that I'll speak to your sister about your behavior. Piper is not a child. Piper is a fully grown woman, and her sister is fully grown as well. Like, what do you think her sister would be able to do? I just think it's very telling. Like, these people treat each other like children. They treat the charmed ones like children. And I think, unfortunately, the show treats them like children. That's a whole other discussion. That's a whole other discussion that we won't get into here. So, We switch on over to Phoebe and Cole on their date. And I'm sorry, but that fake laughing from both of them, I'm like, girl, please. I don't know what method of acting this is, but we don't need to bring that here anymore because, like, baby, when I tell you, I said, you know what? I'm just going to accept it for what it is, and I'm just going to go from there. So Phoebe is telling Cole how much she loves her sisters. She couldn't imagine life without them, blah, 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 blah. And she says that they live together out of necessity. And I was like, that's very interesting. I like it. If Phoebe didn't have to be there, she would not. That's what's so funny about it. And what's so funny about like what happens later in the season with Piper and then next season with Phoebe. If Phoebe did not have to live there, she would not. But anyway, we move. As Phoebe is telling him about her life, she says that her mother, she didn't know her mother. She specifically says, I never knew my mother. And then that her father left when she was really little. They were raised by their grandmother, and now she's in hell. And, you know, the thing that's so significant about that to me, again, every time I watch this episode, it hits me again how alone these people are. Like, them as sisters, they are alone. Their mother is gone. Grams is in hell. Victor is in and out. Like, these people really, truly are by themselves. They are all they have. Gail, she betrayed them. They have nobody. And it just makes me think even more. That's why Phoebe is trying to make this work. You know, Phoebe is truly trying to have somebody that's not going to leave her, because the most important people in her life they weren't there for her. You know, her parents, Patty couldn't be there. Victor, whatever that situation was, wasn't there. And then Grams is gone now. Like, it's really sad. That was what I was talking about earlier when I said that it kind of broke my heart, because it really is sad to see Phoebe just almost seem lost. Like, when she said it, it was like, if I didn't have my sisters, I don't know what I would do, because they truly are all they have in this world. And it just made me feel like Phoebe is in this constant state of pain and this constant state of longing, and just thinking about how hard and how difficult that must be for her. But anyway, Cole is giving her absolutely nothing. He is saying that his family died a long time ago. He has nothing to say about any of them. And I'm like, Phoebe, this is a red flag, baby. This is a red flag. So y'all, I'm trying not to laugh. I'm trying not to laugh, but so Prue gets back to the house, right? And she's trying to get the date changed on her shoot at P3. And Piper grabs the phone. Now, mind you, Piper has been hit with the ball of anger at this point. So this is angry Piper talking. And she grabs the phone and she's like, hi, actually, you know what? No, it's not. And then she hangs up the phone. And I was like, not Piper being polite, even when she is enraged magically. But that kind of tracks for her, because in Bride and Gloom, she's supposed to be an evil warlock and she still knocks on the door. And I'm like, baby, Piper said manners first. Manners matter, and we are going to have manners in this manner. So at this point, they're going back and forth, right? And then Andrus hits Prue. Andrus hits Prue with the ball of anger, right? And they're arguing, and Piper takes Prue's like lens for her camera and says, if you won't put your equipment away, I will do it for you. Prue, I swear to God, looks around like she cannot figure out what belongs to Piper and what doesn't. And she picks up the food processor and throws it on the ground. I said, not the food processor that all of y'all probably use. Not you taking household items and throwing them. Like, girl, go get her teapot. I don't know what Piper owns, but get something more specific. A food processor. She might as well have just like flipped the table over or something. Anyway, child, at that time, Phoebe gets home and she's sitting in the car with, I almost said Jason, with Cole. He reminds me a lot of Jason, but that's a story for a different day. But she's sitting in the car with Cole and she's trying to like get him to tell her what the thing is that he's hiding. She makes a joke about him being married, and then like He just says, huh, you figure me out. But he never actually said no. So for me, that would have been something that I would have been like, say JK. Say JK.
But it ain't about Joe, because if it was about Joe, you would have said like, ha ha, JK. But the thing
was
about
a joke.
No, but you didn't say JK though.
Phoebe in this moment, God bless her. God bless her. This man is clearly not, like being open and honest with you. And she is trying so hard to make this man love her, essentially. Make this man be open and honest. And baby, he's not going to. Baby, he's not going to. He's not gonna tell you those magic words. I'm so sorry, my love, my sweet girl. But he's not gonna do it. And they're in there just making out. And then he is looking at Andress. And then as Phoebe is getting out of the car, he tells her goodbye. And I was like, Phoebe, turn this on. But my baby, this is never turned on when it comes to Cole. Never. It's never turned on when it comes to Cole. And for the people that are listening to this versus watching the video version, I was pointing to my head saying, turn this on. So turn that brain on, baby. Turn that brain on. So Phoebe walks into the manor and all hell done broke loose. No pun intended. Okay. She walks into the manor and like Prue and Piper are just going at it, arguing, going back and forth, reading each other for filth. And Phoebe is rightfully confused because she's like, wait, whoa, what's going on here? They start yelling at her, and then they start reading her. Now, when Andress hits Phoebe with the anger ball, it's so interesting because Phoebe makes like a physical reaction and she like inhales. And I genuinely think it's because Phoebe's premonitions, she's the only one who truly felt that something had come over her, like that there was some kind of magical something that took her over. But that's just a little small thing, but I just feel like that's what that was. Baby, our girls are reading each other for filth. I'm talking about for filth. Phoebe is calling Prue dull. Phoebe is saying that Piper was too scared to go off to college. Piper done told Phoebe that Grams was always ashamed of her. She done said that she wasn't so stupid she had to do college twice. I'm like, my God, Prue. Here's the thing. I feel like Prue just kind of sat this one out just a little bit, because her reads were, she was like, yeah, still jealous that I'm living at home with my sisters. I mean, so are you. So I was like, no, you can't be, whatever of that, because you're still living at home too with your sisters. So we might want to strike that one off the table. But Prue does say one thing to Phoebe that I was like, oh, we're going there. So you know how much Prue hates their father. She hates that man with a passion. And when Phoebe goes to leave, Prue says, I see you inherited Dad's talent for bailing. Now, on its own, that's just an insult, right? But when you think about who it's coming from and who's being on the receiving end of it, that cuts deep, because Prue, again, hates their father. And she knows that Phoebe idolizes this man, okay? She knows that. So for her to say, girl, that was the deepest one to me. For me, that was like the deepest insult that doesn't get treated in the way that it should. Because, again, Piper and Phoebe are reading for filth. They're going for the jugular. Now, Prue, she just did a clean slice. But Piper and Phoebe are just, it is a reading fest, okay? Now, the culmination of the fight, though, is what gets me every single time. Every single time. So, Piper goes to grab her earring out of Phoebe's ear because she's like, you stole my earring. And she grabs it out. She snatches the earring out of Phoebe's ear, which I can only imagine must have hurt like hell. And then Phoebe goes, ouch, bitch. And I was like, not bitch. And then Phoebe goes to kick Piper. Piper ducks, which I didn't even know Piper knew how to duck. Piper ducks and dodges the kick and then pushes Phoebe, physically pushes Phoebe into Prue. Prue then physically pushes Phoebe into the wall. Like, you just got Phoebe just like this the whole episode. She's just like, oh my God. Like, she's just like going back and forth. They are manhandling my baby, okay? And she gets up and she gets that camera and she gets the most evil look at her face. She's like, I'm gonna get you. And then she throws it at Prue, and then Prue uses her power to push it. Phoebe levitates up to avoid it, and then Piper freezes it. So then when the camera unfreezes, Piper instantly knows something is wrong because she knows that she didn't unfreeze it. So everyone is kind of like, something weird is going on. And Phoebe walks out of the house. And at that moment, we see that the triquetra on the cover of the Book of Shadows has broken apart. Baby, when I tell you I get shocked every time I see it because they really pushed my girl. I'm like, oh my God. Baby, they were pushing my sweet, precious angel baby like nobody's business. I was like, God, no. They were manhandling her. And me personally, if it was me, I would have beat somebody up. Like, forget throwing a camera. I would have turned around and started beating somebody up. Fisticuffs, my fist is in your face. Like, there's just no way. There is just absolutely no way you finna play in my face like that. But that's just me. Because anytime Piper clocked in to the point where she dodged the kick, Piper don't dodge kicks, baby. That's not what Piper does. But she was so mad in that moment that Piper learned how to dodge. Girl, you got me. You got me with that. I'm telling you that is probably the most tense scene between the sisters of this show. Like, that one scene just makes me every single time go, oh my God. It just makes me kind of sit back and be like, whoa, Lord, let me take a breather after that. Let me go get some water. So then, useless Leo, okay? Every time Leo comes on the scene, I'm just like, God, here we go. Leo comes in and they're like, what happened? And he says, you tell me. And apparently, whatever happened between them was so powerful that the elders felt the power of 3 break. And I just want to know what the hell that means. I just want to know why the elders are so connected to the power of 3 that they could feel that it was broken. I just feel like if that's the case, if the power of 3 is that powerful of a force, then you would think that the demons would have been able to feel that too. And the source would have been like, uh-oh, here's our moment. But I feel, me personally, okay, I feel like there's something they're not telling us about the elders. And I really feel like the elders are just witches who became, like, they gained white lighter powers or gave themselves white lighter because there's no reason. Anyway, I'm not even going to get into that because I know that there's going to be a discussion had about the comics and the all and the this and the that and how all of them are connected. So we're not here for that. Well, not that I'm not here for, I'm just saying that's not what we're here for today. Now, as they recount what happened and how they lost their powers, what happened leading up to the fight, they start piecing together that Belthazor must have had something to do with this. And this is why Leo is not a good white lighter. He hears that and immediately is just like, no, that doesn't track because he doesn't have the power to take away your powers. So we need to figure out what there is a demonic demon of fortune. I can never remember what it is. He's a demon of fortune or something like that. So that's why I always get so tongue tied trying to figure out what it was. Anyway, like, Leo is so dismissive. And my thing is that they weren't even saying that Belthazor himself took him away. They're literally saying like Belthazor might have had something to do with why their powers, ended up going away. They're not saying that he took it. Leo is just not an effective white lighter. I hate him. And then they did that thing that I hate so much in this show. Whenever they need Piper to like freeze something to prove she doesn't have her powers, they drop something on the ground. Why are we dropping crystal on the ground? I don't know if it was real crystal, but it was at least glass. Why are we dropping something glass on the floor? And then when Piper couldn't freeze it, it's like, why not just try to freeze Leo? Just tell him freeze me. And then when it doesn't work, boom. But no, we got to be dramatic and have something break on the floor. And then Prue goes over to broken glass. And this is why I love my Prudence. And my girl is a murderer. Low key, my girl is a murderer. Because she goes over to broken glass and is trying to move it. Prue, why are we trying to move broken glass, baby? Like, move a pillow to you. Try to move a pillow to you. Not broken glass, mama. Not broken. Not something that could like bust somebody's eye out, but hey, killer instinct. Sometimes when my girl gets that thirst for blood, she can't control it. Now, them figuring out that them using their powers, quote unquote, on each other, I think that it wasn't necessarily them using them on each other, because technically Piper nor Phoebe used their powers on any other one. But, and even Prue didn't actually use her power on her sisters. It was more like, and even then it was just moving the camera back. But I think the problem is that it was the intention behind it. Prue did mean for that camera to hit somebody. I genuinely believe that. Like Prue was trying to kill somebody. But then also Phoebe used her power out of anger and spite to show her like, so you couldn't get me. And then Piper, I don't know how the hell I would explain Piper's, because Piper was just freezing it so it wouldn't break something. So I think that's how they kind of get into that, they use their powers on each other thing, because it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense when you think about it, because two of them don't even have powers that can be used on each other. But anyway, we move. So Phoebe shows up to Cole's apartment at like midnight. And it's so funny because Phoebe says that she was just walking around and she ended up there. I don't even know how far her house is from where Cole lives, but you walked in San Francisco, which is humongous. You walked from there to where Cole lives, which is essentially probably somewhere in the actual city. Girl, mama, please. Phoebe, please. You caught a cab. You didn't have any money to, but you caught a cab. Like, let's be 100% honest about that. Anyway, she's telling Cole what happened, and he's comforting her, but he's also like trying to make himself killer, which he had prime opportunity to, and he didn't. And then he stops himself and he tells Phoebe, we can't do this. You need to go home and you need to figure out what happened to your sister, with you and your sisters. And he's literally looking at her like, you need to figure out what happened. Like, he's saying it just like that. He's literally telling her like, stupid, something happened to y'all. You need to go figure that out. And when they're kissing, this man pulls out an entire athame. Like, you can feel his body. Like, you can tell that his body goes like this. And then he pulls out an athame, and then he's gonna stab her with it, and then he puts it back up. And I'm like, okay, listen, okay, I'm not an expert at kissing. I'm not an expert at kissing. But I would just think that you could feel somebody making motions. Like, I would think that you could feel somebody like, like reaching behind them and doing stuff. Not Phoebe. Her eyes are closed the entire time. And I think that is the perfect comparison to what her life is on a day-to-day basis. Her eyes are closed, and anything she sees that does not line up with that, she's not going to pay it any attention, because it's not something that she wants to see. And it just, oh my God, it's even with her premonitions. I think that's why, like, her third eye is closed. She doesn't want to see those things. There's also something else I want to say. Just because Cole stopped himself from killing her and he warned her to go back to the house, that does not give him a pass in my book. That does not give him a pass for sending Andress in the first place. Andress would not have been there. The power of 3 would not have been broken had Cole not sent him. So I'm sorry. I don't buy into the whole, oh, but he loved her and he stopped himself from killing her. Baby, I'm not getting into the Jackie Christie gaslighting, okay? You're not going to create a situation and then because you helped me out of it, I'm supposed to be grateful to you. No, ma'am. No, ma'am. So as Phoebe is leaving, Andress like comes in as Phoebe is still standing at the door. And then somehow Phoebe doesn't see him. And it's like a studio apartment. So like literally it's right there. There's no way she could have missed him. But again, my baby doesn't pay attention, okay? And Andress is like reading Belthazor to filth, reading Cole to filth. And it's just like, imagine what the council is going to, or what the triad is going to do when they find out this little tidbit of information. And then Cole threatens to kill him. So then Andress says, are you pissed off? Because he's got this accent. He's like, are you pissed off, are ya? And he's just like, he sounds like he eats beans all day. He's like, oh, yeah, something you don't know about me. I can possess my victims too.
Pissed off, are you? Good, because there's something you don't know about me. I can possess my victims too.
Like, what is with the accents this episode? There's just something with the accents in this particular episode that I'm like, girl, mama, y'all aren't gonna win the award. Y'all aren't getting an Emmy for this. Stop. But anyway, he possesses Cole and he's gonna go kill the charmed ones himself. So Phoebe goes home and she's talking to her sisters and they're so relieved that she's home. They are so happy. They thought that Belthazor had gotten her. They're telling her, like, we don't have any powers, right? They're telling my sweet, precious angel love Phoebe, we don't have any powers. And Phoebe, the first thing out of her mouth is, so what do we do? A spell, a vanquish, a potion? Phoebe, my sweetest love, my sweetest love, please. Phoebe, please, for the love of God, like, just once this episode, please use your brain. Please use your brain just once. I'm begging you. It is my sincerest wish and hope that just one time this episode, you will use your brain. But my baby, she's not. It's just not turned on. It's just not turned on. So as they get into their little apologizing train and they're all talking to each other about their issues and apologizing. I say all are apologizing. Phoebe is not apologizing. Phoebe has not apologized to anybody. She's just kind of like centering herself in it. And she's like, well, you know that I'm a little bit of a screw up. And I'm like, Phoebe, shut up. And then she does kind of like tell Prue, you know, after mom died, but then she doesn't even get a chance to finish it because Piper takes that over. So Phoebe does not say the words, I'm sorry, not one time. Everyone else acknowledges something from somebody except my Phoebe. And then Phoebe is the first one to say, do you think we have our powers back? No, baby, you don't. No, baby, you don't have your powers back. You really don't. So, you know. And then Belthazor attacks at that very moment. And they're all just kind of like, oh. Now, this is one of my favorite moments of this entire series. Prue tries to get Piper and Phoebe to run away, and she's going to hold off Belthazor. But her sisters tell her, no, we're in this together. Oh, it's just beautiful, especially after the season opener or the series opener where Prue tells them to run and they hightail it up out of there and they leave my girl by herself. So this is just beautiful. It is just beautiful to see. Like, I love this moment. And of course, at that moment, that's when the book reconnects the thingies of the triquetra because they have a name, but I don't know what they are. But they reconnect and they've got their powers back. Now, also in this scene, when Belthazor comes in, I will say, Leo tried to be useful, and for whatever reason, he hit Belthazor, this very strong, centuries-old demon, with a chair. I don't know what he thought he was going to accomplish, but at least he tried. And Belthazor knocked the hell out of him. I'm talking about like knocked him to high heaven. And I was like, you know what? That eats. So anyway, he goes to throw an energy ball at them, right? Prue moves it back. And somehow, some way, that energy ball knocks the possession out of Belthazor. Listen, let me say this. It doesn't make sense. I'm not going to try to make it make sense. I don't understand how in God's name that would have been the result of that. But you know what? If that's what we're going to go with, that's what we're going to go with. Because so far, this has been an amazing episode for the most part. And I'm just not going to start questioning things now. So then Belthazor vanquishes Andress. And like they get in formation, right? Come on, ladies, now let's get in formation. And Beyonce, please don't sue me. And then Phoebe levitates and kicks him. And somehow, some way, she knocks herself back and knocks herself out. And I was like, okay, wowzers, that's great. And then Prue astral projects and kicks him. Piper picks up the knife and she slices a piece off, right? And then he takes her arm and bends it back and then knocks her, and then she goes flying back. I don't understand how he didn't break her arm, because if he's that powerful and that strong, Piper's arm should have been broken out of the socket. They said, listen, we don't have enough money for that. The writer said, we don't have enough money for that kind of thing. We don't have a budget for that. So you're gonna have to accept the fact that her arm didn't break. And you know what we did? We accepted the fact that her arm didn't break. So Prue flings him out of the window and she gets Phoebe up and they go to look and he's already gone. So Cole has been shimmered down to the triad and they're going to kill him. But he takes that opportunity to kill the triad. And he hits one with an energy ball. And for some reason, that's enough to kill him. He hits one with like a knife and that kills him, or with the athame. And then the other one, he twists his neck. And I'm like, well, now how the hell did that kill him? If he's a demon, how did that? But again, it's just like the energy ball knocking the possession out of him. I'm not going to question it because, hey, but I do hate the fact that I feel like this is the beginning of the Cole redemption train. And I'm not a fan of it. I'm just not a fan of it. And him killing the triad did not move me in any shape, form, or fashion. I was just like, whatever. Like watching it, I'm just like, yeah, okay, this is what we're finna get started. But anyway, we move. So we end the episode with the sisters showing us that they're going to be more honest and open with each other. Piper has gone to her doctor's appointment. She has learned the importance of saying no. And Phoebe is still waiting for Cole like a sick puppy dog. And that's how we end this episode. This episode was really good. It was really, really good. And I think we got a chance to really let them hash things out. So this episode is what I used to think the power of two was. I used to think that was Phoebe and Prue really getting a chance to like go at it, when in reality it wasn't. It was just Phoebe being offended and then Prue trying to placate her. But this episode, it was like, no, you got to confront everything that you have felt. Because baby, if you don't, it's a matter of life and death. And I love the fact that we finally get, I think we get a real payoff to our powers are tied to our emotions. I think this is one, besides the damn Primrose episode, Primrose empath episode. You know how I feel about that. I'm not a huge fan of it. Anyway, but I feel like this is a really, really good example of what that means. They were so mad and so angry at each other that they used their powers and it literally severed their magical connection and took away like their own individual powers. I love that. I love that part of it. And I'll be honest. I think my favorite character, like development, was Piper this episode. Piper there was something so aggravating about watching everybody, literally not even just her sisters, but also Leo, just like underestimate her and just, oh, well, you can handle it and we're going to pass it off to you and this and that. And it's like, you watch that happen the entire episode and it's like, Piper, baby, stand up. And that's why I was honestly glad that she got a chance to get all of that out, because I feel like Piper needed that venting session, honestly, because the way that they treat that woman, I'm just like, my God. So it was good by the end of the episode to hear that she's more comfortable with saying no, to hear that she understands that she's got to put her own needs first. And, not to say she doesn't love her sisters, but they have to have those boundaries. They have to. Now, another thing that I really loved about this episode is that sisterhood was the main theme. Sisterhood was the thing that Belthazor used to get in between them. Sisterhood was the thing that brought them back together. That was what gave them their powers back. That was like their connection is at the core of this episode. And I think it goes to show that even when they're mad at each other, even when they're not in a good place with each other, they still rely on each other and they still are going to be there when they need to be. Because again, just the juxtaposition of Prue in the first season telling them to run and they ran, I feel like that this season, this episode shows us that they see each other as equals now. It's not just Prue is our big sister and, we just have to do whatever she says. Like, no, now we've got her back just like she always has ours. And I love that moment. And I love the fact that Prue acknowledges that Phoebe is an adult, that Phoebe is someone who has grown and changed, and she doesn't always treat her like that. Because it just, I don't know, it's just to hear Prue admit to doing something like that was just such a big moment for her, because I think up to this point, we've seen her and Phoebe's relationship grow, and we've seen it grow in a positive direction. But hearing Prue acknowledge the fact that she still kind of sees Phoebe as a little girl, if we're being 100% honest, like she still sees her. But again, that goes back to something that we've talked about before. Phoebe is essentially Prue's child. Like, for all intents and purposes, Prue is Phoebe's mother. So it's like, it makes sense that she sees her as a child, because in her eyes, this is the same little girl that I helped raise, that I helped tie her shoes, and I helped her learn how to wash clothes, and I helped her learn all these different life skills. I can imagine that it is difficult to see her as an equal, as an adult, but that's what this episode, I think, does, is forces them to see each other as equals, or acknowledge that they see each other as equals. So anyway, we are going to go ahead and wrap this episode on up here. I loved watching this episode. I loved the theme of sisterhood. I loved the little mini character arcs we got this episode. I just love it all around, and I think it is one of their strongest episodes. Not stronger. I think it honestly is one of their strongest episodes, and I would love to know from y'all, what do you think of this one? Let me know in the comments below, or if you're listening on like Spotify, let me know. But if you're listening on like Apple Music, okay, then you can find me anywhere on social media at They Call Me Mr. G. You can find me on TikTok. You can find me on Instagram. You can find me anywhere at They Call Me Mr. G. And let me know what you thought about this episode of the podcast, and what you thought about this episode of Charmed. So join me next time as we discuss, and I can't wait for this one, Ex Libris. I have, like, that one is one of those episodes that I haven't watched in a while. And like, our Patreon rewatch, it was so long ago. I honest to God am like needing that refresher. Like, I remember what happened, but like the beat by beat, I can't wait. I cannot wait. And if you would like to join me over on the Patreon and join us for our Charmed rewatches and Buffy rewatches, head on over to patreon.com/powerofg, and I will hopefully see you there. I forgot what I was gonna say. And also, since this episode is going to be coming out right before Christmas, Merry Christmas if you celebrate. If you don't, then, I hope you have a good day that day. But yeah, I will be seeing you on New Year's Eve, where we're going to discuss Ex Libris. And then going into the new year, we have a special treat. And I'm so excited. I'm so excited to share that with y'all. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to drop on off. And I hope that y'all have a great evening, morning, afternoon, or whatever it is, wherever you are. And I will see you later. Bye.